I was born in Greece, but grew up mostly in Holland. So the time before the my big accident, I was living in Amsterdam, and I was on my bicycle on a very beautiful Friday spring morning in the end of April. And I get to the center of town, and there is a big crossroads, and it's by a canal. And I stopped for a red light. And as I'm waiting for the red light, a big vehicle pulled up beside me on the left-hand side. And as the light turned to green, this big vehicle, this truck, started steering quite quickly to the right. And so I got on the bike, I started pedaling, and I was literally pushed to the curb. And I remember as it passed me very, very closely, I already got a little bit of a shock, a fright, and I sort of looked up to the cabin, shouting something just like, "Hey, watch out," type thing. And then everything just kind of went very fast. And as it passed me and pushed me even deeper to the right, and I was actually going to go straight. He had sort of theoretically had to give me right of way. And then the next thing is that I feel this very big sort of thud from behind. And then everything went black. The next thing I remember, where I awoke into some kind of consciousness, was spiraling out of my body. And at some point, I sort of hovered over the scene. And the first thing I'm aware of is that I have 360 degrees peripheral vision, which was amazing. So I recall being in that state of wonder, just like, wow, what is this? This is amazing. Seeing and literally looking out over the whole city or of Amsterdam and being in that sort of suspended state. And it was just really sort of awe-inspiring, really quite like a spiritual experience, that expanded consciousness in all directions. And I also recall that I felt no pain. I had very little emotion. And then it took a little while for me to sort of figure out what had happened. So as I started to sort of look down, and I started to sort of see the scene, and I saw my body, and I saw a black and white pedestrian crossing, and I saw blood trickling between my legs, and that I kind of noticed that that my legs were sort of very strange, cradled around the frame of the bike. And it started to dawn on me, like, oh, that looks strange, that looks odd, something's not right here. So that takes a little moment of putting all these elements together. And I also remember that it was like everything had come to a standstill. It was like time was frozen, like a freeze frame. And like everything had sort of slowed down to that one sort of, in like non-moving moment, like you were somehow suspended out of time and nothing was moving. And I zoomed in on the scene below me. And as it went on, I started to realize what had happened. And I thought, okay, this really doesn't look good. I realized that something had hit me and that I was outside of my body, looking down at myself. And then I started to feel some emotions, and I thought, wow. And then really at some point I thought, but my body is dead. I am dead. So as I'm watching that, and all of this obviously went very fast, it can not have lasted more than a few minutes. But to me, in that sort of freeze frame, 25 meters above, it looked like a very long time. And then it was like slowly things started to move. When I really understood and started to feel the seriousness of the situation and sort of what had happened to me, I thought, okay, it's kind of sad and I'm still really quite young, but I thought it's okay, I can let go. And so it felt like I was, it was like I severed the last remaining connection to my body. It was like there was this little string, like I had been like a kite on a string connected to that body. And then in that moment, I let go. And then everything started to move very quickly. And I felt that I was shooting through the air away from the earth at great velocity, at great speed. And I sort of remember feeling like I was going through the clouds, just through, into the stratosphere. And then everything went to black. And I realized later, now I know that that was the void, which is where the soul goes in between the dimensions. And so the first recollection I have, like coming back to some consciousness, was me floating in the cosmos, in the universe. And that was a very pleasant sensation. So it was like I already knew that I had no body, that I had no physical body, and also that you're in this sort of awareness that actually you are not a person anymore. You have no name, kind of no identity. You're just awareness. And I found that extremely liberating. It was there was a sense of unlimited freedom that you're experiencing, your soul, your essence is experiencing that. So my consciousness is just floating amongst the stars. And I noticed that space, that the cosmos is not dark, as in black. It's actually a sort of velvety blue. It's a dark blue, but it's not black. And I remember sort of going with that experience for a while and finding that also quite soothing. And thinking, I think I remember this. I think I've been here before. Maybe like I've done this before. I've floated amongst the stars before. So it was a sort of feeling safe, maybe. Then I sort of recall being pulled to a golden infinity sign. And it was quite large, and it was like this golden infinity sign was like, it was a living current, like it was alive. It was electrifying because I could see the current sort of light, of energy pulsating through it. And it was like it magnetized me to it. I was magnetically attracted to this form, to this infinity sign. And I remember I was again sort of suspended above it. And later, when I started to understand my experience better, it felt like it was a kind of a download. It was an energetic upgrade. Something was being done to my spirit, to my soul. And it felt very energizing, very electrifying. Then everything went black again. And when I re-emerged from that moment in the void, I was shown a kind of life review. So I want to point out also that I did not go through a tunnel. At least I have no recollection. I don't remember that. I didn't go to a light. So when I re-emerged from the void, from that black dimension, I remember that I was being shown certain scenes from my life, from the life that I had just departed. And it wasn't like everything was passing very quickly, but it was a highlighting of certain things that had happened in my life so far. And one of the scenes that was being sort of brought to life was when I must have been around 13, 14 years old. And I had a very very loud argument with my mom. And what made it so special was that I was being shown what my argument, what my words, what my anger was actually doing to my mother. Because it was like I was being pulled into her body, into her awareness, and I was receiving all of that anger. So everything that I had said to my mother and projected, I was now experiencing myself. And it was very profound, and it was very emotional. It made me very sad, because I thought, wow, I was a very angry teenager, and I was very angry with my mom. And it was very deep to experience, the impact of your own actions. The next dimension, the next sense of awakening into consciousness after that was into what I call the blue zone. It was a dimension, a realm that seemed to be infinite, like with no limits. And it was in this very deep, a blue that was like it was alive, an electric blue. And what was very special about that dimension or that place was that it had a sort of pulse. It had a sonic boom. So it was like there was this sort of heartbeat, and it was a very deep, like almost like a bass tone, this boom, boom. And it was this pulsation in this blue space. And that felt very zen, very soothing, very quiet, very, very limitless. And again, so it's just you are obviously completely aware that you have no physicality, that also in that state, you have no memories, there's no identity. There's just that sort of beingness that is observing its experience. Yeah, that's probably the best way of describing it. And that again went on for a while, and I remember sort of breathing or being alive with that pulsation of that sort of sonic boom, almost like a cosmic heartbeat, if you will. Then ended in my experience, and I will come back to this because apparently this played a very important role in my rebirth, as I call it. I went back to black in my memory, and then for the last time when I reawoke into consciousness, it was into what I now call source energy, into the arms of God or the divine. And that was single-handedly the most overwhelmingly beautiful experience I've ever had, and I think that a human can ever have, because you go to a place where there's only light. So I recall it as a sort of white golden light, and your awareness is that you are one with everything. You are that light, and that light is everything. So you are everything, and you are in this completely timeless limitlessness, vibration of love, unconditional love. It's like a heavenly love. And it felt like home. It felt like, really, like I remembered that I had come from there, that my soul had come from there, and that I had returned home to your cosmic home. And I also feel that actually that language actually is unable to fully do that justice. I feel that you can only just kind of describe the outline, the sort of fringes of it, because what that really feels like is totally beyond, it's beyond words, beyond language, it's beyond any 3D experience, really. So that was the most profound experience of love and of oneness, of being one with everything. And then there was that voice, and that voice said, you can't stay. You have to go back. And then this was all taking place sort of telepathically. And I remember that a part of my soul sort of bargained with this voice. It bargained with that authority, that heavenly authority, or with God, if you will. And I pleaded, I bargained. I was like, no, please let me stay. This, I'm home. I'm one. I am so deeply happy. This is where I need to be. Let me stay. And of course, this is all done telepathically. There's no sound. And of course, these communications are direct. And it wasn't like there was any kind of dialogue. I don't recall that this voice or this authority sort of, entered into this discussion, and it sort of just listened to it, to me pleading, and then it just repeated what it had said, and it said, no, you can't stay, you're going back. And the next thing was that I woke up in an intensive care unit on a ventilator machine, in a little room by myself. And that's sort of in, my story of my NDE.